see your vehicle, so I was just waiting up there.
Oh, I was right on the corners, trying to make it so you
Oh,
could
okay.
see it from either place, so I'll be in in a second.
I must have been 5 minutes late, not more than that.
Be considered.
It is. Well, it isn't, but it is. That weather's sort of iffy, isn't it? This is gonna be a short one. Just a loose format, I didn't fill anything in.
That's good, we can use it again.
That's pretty close to the truth. Yeah. Check the amount on the treasurer's report. I wasn't sure what you put in for Mika. 125 or 150?
I actually put in 250 so they covered the other stuff too.
Okay, okay. Well, it was 250 for the, all
For the
right.
flags and markers and 250 for the other.
Okay, okay. That is incorrect.
But I don't,
So you
Mr.
put,
Neal says that, I mean, when I saw Lorraine, we had our money for the stones still on her list, he says it's not in there anymore.
okay.
I don't know what it would be under. I mean, we know it's never under conservation committee. It was, it was in her,
He gave it to the rec committee.
Oh, that wouldn't be that number.
Is the only money they got? Oh,
Oh, yeah, and, it's just, no such thing as a general fund anymore. Yeah, you just keep rolling it over. I didn't get to look over any of that stuff from the Forest Works group. There was a general meeting down in Wells this week, but they wanted $60 for it. I didn't feel like doing that.
no.
But it was on climate change relative to coastal watersheds. It would have been good.
No.
It was by some EPA people, it wasn't just local. Not the
As
same old
usual, I
crap.
heard nothing about this.
Not the same old crap. Yeah, and again, they want community action and they put $100 on it.
Well, and they can't be well off on their own, because they would lose it. I guess.
I've said before that I don't know what the Southeast Watershed Alliance is, and it bothers me a little, because it's an awful lot like the Boston 36 and Big Pipe. We can make sure that people in Acton and Lebanon and Milton give us water supply so we can pump it south if we need to.
Was it southeastern New Hampshire, was that stuff?
Yeah, actually, all of that, yeah, and it's in,
Right.
how far this reaches out, the whole Gulf of Maine stuff. I'm all for that kind of, at the research level. I'm not sure that I go at it at the government level, but that's me.
Well, the government doesn't recognize ecological zones.
No, it recognizes the needs of people, not the needs of the environment. And, it's just like there was a major, I did, you know, they're toting AWA, which is fine, good point. You know, they tote this stuff, but, you know, and this is getting national recognition. No, that's all well good, but what's happening on the ground level? You know, they've got 9 different studies there showing how good lit is, you know, low impact development. Well, I haven't really downloaded this stuff to take a look at it. Maybe it is all that good, but compared to what? Compared to what we got, or compared to what somebody sold to us?
I think it's greater than sense of better than nothing. Just the way that they,
Not necessarily. If you create, you know,
no.
you can
No, of
create,
course
you can
not.
create natural bad pockets, just like you can any other one. Well, that's not even worth looking at. If you want something a little better, it does. You know, it's Bill's agenda, so I just fill it in blank. He can take it as he goes. Put him on the hot seat.
Well, we sort of begin where we begin and end up where we end.
Well, yeah, I know, but you really need an agenda to work toward. I've always found that the agenda keeps your feet to the fire, so. And if you don't really specify what it is you're doing, you don't focus. No, if you look at this, what you see is the York County Soil and Water focuses on this.
Mhm.
Moose Mountain is focusing on the same thing there, okay?
Mhm.
And now they're gonna, and both are telling us, and have you got much wind of the stormwater management stuff that's gonna be, is that already on the water? Not mentioning names, but somebody on one of the committees in the town said it was. They're really concerned about what we're doing about stormwater runoff in Acton.
Oh, yeah, it is on there. Because
Okay.
Gavin was working on the language for it.
I thought that was the case.
Yeah.
And, okay, I think we ought to look at it next meeting, or another workshop or something. We really need to look at it,
Mhm.
you know? So, I'm going to stick stormwater down on there for next week anyways, next month.
Okay.
Even because, not that we have any input in it, but we should. We should, and that's where the committee's not exercising its what it was set up to do. I don't mind the history stuff, but it was set up as a conservation committee, and it needs to do that. Yeah. But you do get what I'm saying. It's the same old, and
Yeah.
There's money. I hate to say it this way. Stormwater, DEP. I mean, all these government forces are getting
Money from the
this, and what's happening at the ground level? Is the Lamprey any better off than it was? Yeah, it's got more protection, but is it any better off? And that's my point about low impact development. Is it really doing it? Because basically, if you listen to Nemo, which the offshot of it is, the more development, as long as we have oversight on the development's good. And
Well, I mean, this
the
is,
bottom line, it isn't.
this is crazy. Did we even have anybody there?
No, and that's my point. I guess that's the point I was going to make when I first downloaded it. If Wakefield across the border can work with this bunch and this bunch, then why can't Acton work with, I don't know how it works with this group per se, but it should be working with this bunch
Mm-hmm.
in another direction. It should be driving that engine in addition. This isn't a government entity. town of Wakefield, it says, with the towns of Wakefield, Acton, well, adding, yeah, we're putting money toward it, but who's all the direction? Who's actually a director from Acton with them?
I don't know.
I mean, Acton for years has had, insight into the Saco River stuff. But where is the ground here? And this is, now there is a meeting coming up in New Hampshire that is statewide, but it's always been a good meeting. I've attended 2 or 3 of them on, it used to be New Hampshire Lakes, but it's New Hampshire Rivers.
Mm-hmm.
And it's usually up in the middle of the state, so it's up in Plymouth this year, but I don't know when that is. I'll try to find out, but it's usually in the spring. But they do things, you get people talking on things like groundwater temperatures, fish, and geomorphology for rivers, reconstructions, and it's, at least it's got some beef to it as a whole. And I have found the keynote speakers have been good and the things have been good, but I just don't know what engine is driving this train, whether it's the Southeast Watershed Alliance or ground concerns for the local environment. I did spend quite a bit of time in the market after coming down to a bunch of acres still in the car. And did.
I forgot to have a look at it.
Yeah, and I talked to him for 10 minutes, and it's been close to 20 years since the town farm was cut. And it must have been close to 20 years ago.
Yeah.
Well, for over 20 years ago. Well, yeah, he says, did Gooden cut it last? Who cut it last? Did Gooden cut that? Or-
No,
I don't know.
Who cut it? Yeah.
I don't think it was.
I was selecting that.
Yeah, you was living when it cut? Yeah, so it was, yeah, so it's been 30 years, 25, 30 years. So, yeah, it must have been. You was living in 87, 80, somewhere in that, somewhere around there.
No, it wasn't that long.
More than that.
No.
So it was about 20 years ago.
Yeah.
Okay, he was saying it was close to 40, and he said no.
No, it was long as I remember. I wasn't here.
So, okay. It's been 20. It's been closer to 20. Okay. But, again, nobody sees any other uses for those 2 parcels, And, even if there is no other public use at present, there should be a public policy toward, even to the point of the housing. What do you want to say, if we ever do get money to get a public access account through there or whatever. I mean, if there was adjoining property, there's some large adjoining properties next to the town front, if those ever came up, the access becomes a lot easier,
Yeah, I think that the stuff up at Moscow, it's either the Ventatulis on this side, and
Yeah.
the other side is mostly Susan.
Mhm.
I don't think that either of those are going anywhere, just,
That parcel, where the rec committee has their ball field,
Yeah,
if I remember right, that's about a 29-acre parcel, and they're only using 4 or 5.
is it 29? I thought it was close to 25,
So,
but that's all right.
I was wondering, who's got responsibility for that back?
But we keep saying, I've heard you on that, and I've raised the same issue 3 or 4 times. And, I guess we're advisory to it, because it's a piece of property that the town has, but that we don't have any oversight, we just have advisory. But we have advisory on every property in the town, the way the ordinance was written way back then. Anything that the town owns, we have a right to raise our 2 cents worth, and that's probably all it is 2 bits. But, you know, but to me, I don't see why there can't be some sort of access through this end. It just makes no sense to me, you know, to have as you said, it's 29, to have 24 acres that the town can't use because the rec doesn't want us to have an access to it. We're supposed to have barbed wire to protect whoever might be using the rec from the rest of us? I don't know, you know? I mean, what's the reasoning that the general public can't get in there and use that, if that, there isn't? Is it that
Well, what's even more is that in the comprehensive plan, and the most recent one,
Yeah.
not the original one, it says that they were going to develop trails in the back. But that was part of their,
Personally, I wouldn't even mind if the rec had that as part of their policy. I wouldn't mind if the rec had oversight of the 29 acres. If there was a part of the rec was for public trails.
Yeah, but it's there.
But, you know, again, with guidance from the town as a whole, you know, or guidance from this committee or whatever, but to just not to have a policy on it at all, and to have the town treat it like a town forest, you know, because they harvested it in order to get seed money from what's there now. I mean, if you walk over it hard at all, no, I crisscrossed.
I know you went, when it came in, you went looking for a parking place and stuff.
Yeah, I did walk back and forth across it, and it's got a couple of dips, and it's got some, it's basically a maple mixed up. There's not an awful lot of pine in there, there's a little wedge of pine here and there, but it's pretty much second growth maple and a little bit of beech, you know. But give it 10 or 15 years, it'd be nice walking. It won't be like the Mary Grant, because the trees aren't mature, but that's all right, you see something else.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I don't, you know, I have no problems seeing trails there. There's no real views, it's just a walking wood, you know, there's no real other than a quiet spot, you know. And there is the 2 levels, you know, on both sides. Once you get beyond that front field, you've got a swale, and then on the other end, you've got a swale. So, you know.
Isn't there a stream that runs out of there somewhere?
There's a stream that runs in behind the rack, and there's a stream that runs on the other side. And in between, there's a couple of semi-little wet spots. But I don't think there's any vernal pools in there. I don't think it's any special habitat, but I can't say that without looking at it. But yeah, you know, I'll do some homework and see if I can see what I think of it in a little more detail than I got.
That would tap into some of the recreation fund. They got $31,639 sitting in the bank.
Yeah.
That's over and above what they got appropriated.
Yeah, you know, I don't focus on, I hear your point, you know, and the question of why they got it sitting in the bank. Your point's well made. But my point is what is the policy of the other 24 acres? What are you going to do with it, you know? If you have to put a couple of stream crossings and things in there for the general public, it'll swallow that money up all fast. But then again, if you did give the public access for it, you probably could get a grant for that.
Mm-hmm.
You know, somebody wanted to work at it, you probably could get some monies for that.
I don't know whether DP would give you okay to, you know, build a road across the...
No, on the backside, I don't think they would, but even on the front, but I'm not even talking roads, I'm just talking about, I don't see why we can't have a parking area in the front for 1 or 2 vehicles, you know. how many people are to use that at any given time? We're not talking major events, we're just talking a general pull-off and park. It's not safe to park on 109, period. You know, it's not, that site, that shoulder is not a good place to be parking. And we're just asking for trouble. And there is no parking, there is no way to get good pull-off on the other road.
Right.
There really isn't. It's just,
I never followed it.
no, there isn't. And I mean, you could push some rocks and dump it in there, and you know, which people do all the time. But there's some pretty good sized boulders there that, you know, you could make it so people wouldn't go off. But it just seems as though they should be parking on this side somewhere. How far down is Louise Horn on relative to that? Does she come up pretty close to it? Yeah. You know, it seems as though there's adequate frontage on what the rec has got that the public could have a point in there. But I don't know what the best way to go about doing that. Public petitions, to petition the rec to let us have it. I mean, there's nothing in their warrant that says they have exclusive right to that property.
Well, I say, I don't know, I go to one of their meetings, I don't know, I have no idea when do they meet.
You do want to do that?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, okay. We'll find out when you meet, and maybe we should just say, what are you doing here? Well, we just want to raise an ugly issue as to why, do you plan on having leveling the rest of the park and turning it into a frisbee place? What's your plan?
Kevin and Linda did get names of people on the workforce, I forgot to bring them.
You can make a large dog run back there. I mean, dogs are citizens in Acton too.
Well, they pay tax.
I was absolutely amazed at how much the public parks down in Berwick is used by dogs. I mean, it's not used by people, it's used by dogs. You know, I'm not being funny, but you know what I'm saying? People like to exercise the family pet, and that's fine. You know, that's fine, as long as they take care of what the family pet does, and up to a point. But it would be nice to have a small set of trails in there. I don't think the ground is very hard to put a set of trails in. I think you probably could get some civic organization to help with that. You know, even at the prisons at York County. The work detail group. You know what I mean?
Well, come with the conservation kids to do it. If they
I mean, that's what stung a little bit on the Lincoln School thing, is because, you know, the Historical Society said they could get it done, but they weren't doing it themselves. They were going to get the work crew to do it. And you know, that's whatever. Come up and be up in front and honest. You're going to get the county to pay for the summer. It's not your effort, it's their effort. You know, give them credit. Because they're good. They work hard when they get out of jail. You know, they work hard on that release program, and they do a good job. You know, so, but you know, let's give them credit. You know, I've had a chance to do some oversight with that crew. It's fine. You know. I had 4 or 5 of them helping me paint building once, and he said, gee, you know, you're better than the 4 of us put together. I said, I thought we were more painting. I thought we were more painting. but you know. Well, think about how you want to pitch it, if you want to do that, you know, because we have to say we're speaking for the people in Acton. It could very well be there's more people in Acton that are pro-gun ho with the rec does than people that take advantage of Mary Graham. You know?
They might like to have another place to go, so.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not being derogatory, I'm saying that I can't assume that everybody thinks like I do. If I did, I'd be in trouble, so.
It's not like we don't have a place to walk, the Harper lets go other places.
You can see me basically run those minutes.
Got all the way through.
I know, but it's not, not that it really matters. Nobody reads them anyways, it's just my ink and my time. Now you see you see the same people on both sides of the wall. Goes on and on and on.
Yeah, looks okay.
It's okay.
I, of course, didn't go on this mountain thing either. I need to hear a little more for the 6th or 7th. Not everything crossing the mountain.
Well, I might have to rethink myself on it, but I just don't believe that you can micromanage nature to that degree. You know, just don't see it. We have a better system than Anton. And the same thing, you know, this is a good group. This is a good group. But the problem is that they're basically dealing with campus. And people like you, or what I used to have, or Johnny Hobbs, or whoever else, or Lester Beals, I mean, they're in a watershed. Once the stuff gets into the water, that's very, very quickly that it's in one of their streams, one of their bodies. But all they're concerned about is what immediately is going on right around
The lake.
the lake. And there's no concern about, I mean, there's a body of water, you know, it's got some sort of head control, and then there's a stream coming out of it. And then you've got all this hinterland in cross-section. Now, okay, so the river is coming down. Now, if this is gravel, or if there's bedrock here is gravel, you know, and somebody's doing something nasty, that gravel can be doing this, that gravel can be doing this, you know, you don't know what that flow path is. So why are they only concerned with the septic around and the phosphorus around the lakes? I mean, that's the main thrust. And the reality is, you could have somebody spreading sludge in field A right here, and there could be a line of boulders.
Well, I think we actually both know the answer to this one, though.
Yeah.
They don't want to mess with the forestry people. We know that a lot of the problem here is not so great forestry. And I don't think they want to take them on, which is what it involves once you move away from the lake.
Well, in reality, if you're measuring this water for these elements, and these are, I'm just putting them in, and these are all nasties. One attacks your liver, one attacks your kidneys, one attacks your, you know.
Well, it doesn't really matter, all it takes is water.
You know, So that's right. But so if they're measuring for these, they're not necessarily measuring for what this body of water is. They're measuring for what we're concerned about. So, and this is the point I made with Forest Bell. I says, you seem to be only concerned about PO4. And you go 20 miles downstream and you're only concerned about NH3. You know? If you're going to use a model to get all the water collection data for PO4, why can't you tweak that model to do this?
Mhm.
And at what point does this become as important as that? Well, I get big money for doing this, whoever's doing it, because these cold water streams is what they're concerned about. But the other end of the group is concerned about, on the other end of the watershed, they're concerned about this.
Mhm.
Now, if this body of water was surrounded by commercial farms, they'd be concerned about that. And if this body of water is heavily densified with camps that are producing this, but they're not tackling the sludge. They're not tackling the septic, they're only tackling the superficial stuff that comes out of the natural soil, which is phosphorus. You know? The reality is, in these cold streams, the biotic community that deals with these two elements, this is more apt to be taken up by the plant life, and this is more apt to be taken up by possibly the animal or the algae, you know, and that's why they get the algae blooms. So they're concerned about this, but maybe this is really the culprit when everything is said and done. Now,
No, sure.
neither one of these is what I'm totally concerned about. What I'm totally concerned about is something called gross discharge. You know, I think if you've got a...
Well, yeah, you overwhelm the system or you heat it up too much. Or...
Yeah, that's the point. You know, I'm concerned about not having enough, you know, the bad forestry that causes a spike in the flow patterns. Hence, yes, I am concerned about stormwater discharge. But stormwater discharge is directly proportional to the forest practices. And that's one of the things that concerns me about forest works. You know, if you've got a checkerboard on the landscape, you know, and those parcels there are all controlled by Trust X, you know, and they decide that they're going to cut all three of those at the same time. You know, because somebody makes a deal with them.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, well, we're only going to do it every 15 years. The total possible environmental impact is far greater now that it's under one lordship. And this is what people don't see. Case in point.
Well, they also don't see that there's other ways.
Case in point. You're Irish, and I'll pick on you in public meeting.
Do I have to take that?
Yes.
Does my dog have to take it?
In primitive societies, people quite often will own 5 or 6 scattered pieces of property.
Right, okay, yeah,
You see where I'm
they
going?
were talking about this just this afternoon,
Okay.
the difference, Jared Diamond was on there talking
Okay.
about that in Peru, that off the average farmer in Peru owns like 15. And the thing is that it's true that if you had them all united in one block, the over time you would have a greater production, but it's also true that 17 out of those 50 you'd starve.
Well, my point
Whereas
is,
if you have them all spread out, they're not all gonna get a certain disease or insects or whatever that year. You're always gonna get something.
my point is, if everybody decides they're going to go raise potatoes in a given year because they paid good off last year, nobody makes well.
Right, so it depicts.
And that's absolutely the case now, and it applies to the random use of forestry and the random use of harvesting, and particularly if you limit forestry, if it's possible. And when I was on the planning board, the gravel issue came up, You know, and that was hot. You remember, that was a hot ticket item. The reality is, the town could support 50 Burger Kings. But can it support 2 or 3 Midways? No, you know, can it, and this is the point. How long can we continue to take limited, small amounts of gravel? Or do we let somebody come in here with these 36-yard dumps and one man right after another? You know? Case in point, I was in a gravel pit many, many years ago down in Wells, and there was a young pup and an old pup. Man, down to your age, and a kid, 21 or 2 years old. Yeah, I know. The kid 20 years old. They were both operating a dump truck and a payload. And the young guy was trying to keep up with the old, and he was really trying. He wasn't doing it, but he was trying. And that's the attitude you can get in. You know, it's not about my gravel and using it on my neighbors to help them out with the project. It's how much can I get out of this bank just as fast as I can? And which attitude serves Acton better over the long run in terms of protecting its resources? You know, do we need to take all the fish out of the stream because we want to prove that Acton's good fishing? It's really good fishing. That's, you know, anyways, maybe I digress. But I don't think I have, but you know. So you had nothing specific with that?
No, because I never know who's gonna show up. Did you have something you wanted to talk about?
No, I really am behind the 8 ball. I collected this stuff and you know, I can show you what I do in a given month. For last month, I didn't do it for this. And, you know, I've got notes of the little conversation we had, which I found productive. I enjoyed that conversation even though, you know, you raised my eyes a little bit, and, you know, and that was good. And, you know, you work a little bit here and you work a little bit there. I found the meeting with Marcel, it gave me heartburn. Not to be honest.
Marcel Blue?
Then Marcel, no, Marcel, what's his name? Paul.
Oh.
Guy from Forest Works, you know. Yeah. You know, I haven't heard Marcel Blue in quite a while, it's an old name. You know, Marcel Pollock, I just didn't, I don't see where he's going. I really don't. You know, like I said, I don't know what the Three Rivers Trust is doing to, you know, with that Forest Works. I don't know what's driving the engine. I don't know if it's the trust or it's something beyond. Something else.
Well, I think the ultimate goal is to get wildlife corridors before it's too fragmented, you know. At least on the surface. I mean, you may be right, there might be some other interest involved in it. But ostensibly, that's what it is that we still have it all connected.
Yeah.
And it's to get it protected before it's too fragmented.
If that's the case, they ought to take a look at the other trust group north of them, because they've got to seem to have a stronger attitude toward that than the Three Rivers does. You know. But
What's the other trust?
is it Nicholas Shapley? Is the Shapley? What's the name of that? It's the one out of Limerick.
Oh, that is part of Forest Works.
I know it is.
Yeah.
But they ought to review their. I said that wrong. They ought to take a good hard look at the way they're going about it.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't seen much dynamic study coming out of either Marcel or the other guy on how they want to have corridors work. You know, if that's what they're thinking, then they should have selective pieces that they think are of value toward that corridor. They should have an understanding of what's on the landscape. Even if they want to superimpose, you know, beginning with habitat and work backwards. You know, but what gets me is, and it bothers me a lot. And I've said it before. 30 years ago, Vernon had an on-the-ground understanding of where the wildlife in Acton was. You know, and he was on this committee when it started, and what they did almost guaranteed wildlife coverage, you know, because they literally protected those wet zones around those wet areas and gave it a good wide buffer. So they basically created habitat in law, and then the state comes along and throws it all out, and the planning board says, good for the state, they're really smart because they got all this technical jargon. Well, what Vernon knew in his gut was better conservation than what some lawyers helped the state put together. But, you know, since I know what lawyers is, I'm off the hook. But that's my thinking. But,
Did I send you, did I give you?
yeah, I got that, and that's valuable, you know, that's valuable.
Just background,
Yeah.
so that if somebody, you know,
Yeah, yeah.
I was asking Bill how much put in for cemetery, he said didn't put in it.
Well, if Hannah doesn't, if we don't get it, if we don't spend it, you know, if we don't actively spend it, then you can't continue to request for it, you know. You know?
Well, you're in a catch-22 here then. If you don't have money, you can't do anything. If you got money, you get, no money to
You know,
use
you
Still
know,
don't get it.
what you need to do is get into the practice of spending it. Even though it's minimus, you need to get into the practice of spending it. It's like my dad used to say, if you're gonna milk the cow, strip it. Don't milk it halfway or it's just gonna dry up. You know, so if you're gonna, you know, if you're gonna start milking a cow, do it right. But I suppose that goes over the head of some people, but that's the reality. You know, but, so did you have anything of interest besides?
I talked to, I wanted to find out what was going on with the, you know, Great East Canal.
Mhm.
And I bumped into Linda Shear down at the school
Mhm.
week before last, and asked her, and I mentioned that I'm trying to get a hold of her, Pam Judd, and she said there's nothing going on. You know, the last we heard from her was last August. Remember, you was at that meeting.
Well, I personally think they got a loggerhead in terms of knowing what rights they can do. And,
Oh,
you know, that's my interpretation of it. Can they get a grant and get some stronger national interest involved? You know, national historic interest involved? Maybe, you know, I mean, there was no money to save the Constitution back when it was in trouble until somebody raised the public ire and created a public outcry, and then they tried to save it.
You know, my father always remembered giving money for that.
Yeah. And the same thing was with the Old South. They wanted to take that little building down in the middle of downtown. What do you need, a little two-story structure, three-story structure, and a steeple in the middle of downtown Boston, you know? Why do I have that? Well, I have Paul Revere's house, you know? And you come around the corner, and there's a little tiny building in the middle of, you know what I'm saying? But there's real history there. There's some real history there. So,
Also stops them from rewriting the streets, doesn't it?
yes, it does. Yes, it does. So, no, they're gonna have to work on, they're gonna have to stop, they're gonna have to put limits on that bridge, and somebody's gonna have to enforce those limits, or they're gonna lose that resource, because
Or somebody's gonna be in this river.
there's no reason to believe that bridge is gonna sustain the kind of use that it's getting.
an interesting one, I don't know, there was an article in the paper a while back, and there's a very similar situation in Saco,
Okay.
and there's an old stone bridge.
Mhm.
And so they went out and they got, what is it gonna cost them? It was over like $2 million. Big buck. 1.78, 1.7 or 1.8 million dollars
I think the one in Rochester, you know,
but,
and not,
but the one in Saco, that they end up closing the road, you know, over here, they just keep going, no limit.
you know, there's a couple of issues. The canal, there's some real issues on the wall itself, you know, that need to be dealt with, and those are going to cost a little bit too. In a dry season, they could be done by somebody that's close, but there's some issues there too. I don't know, you know, I can't see an easy way to cross the stream and make the roads meet where they are. You know, usually when it's a covered bridge or something like that, they usually move the road 150 feet away and leave the bridge where it is, you know.
Well, why can't they do that there?
They probably could, go right over it and leave the bridge where it is.
Is there, there's something, you know, like steel that would be anchored back away from the stone canal, you know, back
Yeah.
solid, so that all of a sudden,
You go up and, you know, and then leave it where it is. All I know is that the state of New Hampshire requires the state of Maine to give them access to the dam control. And that's the bottom line. And then the footprint of the dam. And the real question is, who owns the footprint to the bridge, you know? And that's a tough one, you know? Because, you know, they gave them the land, but there's nothing there that specifies, you know, there's the rock work on both sides of the stream. I'm not sure, right? Where does Maine's, you know, I assume New Hampshire, don't assume, New Hampshire definitely controls all that. And there's the state line as it is. And New Hampshire gave Maine back this land since they had it, you know. But in the proviso was they had to maintain that access across to get to the control of the dam. So New Hampshire has to agree upon any alternative route across that. And in the meantime, you know, I mean, to me, the obvious, it might sound stupid, but, and I raised this at that meeting, I says, you know, is there any, what, you got these lands up here, there's the road, and you got this point of land, and you got some valuable properties up there. Is there any dry hydrants up in there? Is there any water supply up in there? Is there any pumping systems from the lake that would help put the fire out? I mean, I think maybe I'm not a fireman, so I'm not talking, but talking off the top of my head, but what's the difference between the weight of a vehicle, of a fire truck that hasn't got water in it? What's the difference between the weight of a pumper and the weight of a tank? So if the Acton pumper and the, you know, you just mentioned a pretty big figure in order to fix that bridge up, but it seems as though the real concern is the average person that's going across that bridge. You know, commercial people don't need to go across it. They want to go across it. They don't need to. There's other ways. They've got to go out of their way, but there's other ways. You know, and there's no reason it seems as though to me that somebody is letting down on their job by not putting an appropriate weight limit on that stone arch, as it is.
Well, they supposedly did, but who's gonna enforce it? How do you enforce it?
You put a camera up.
You're gonna put a guard up there,
No, I just put a camera up that takes a picture of the license plate. I mean, if they can do that in Portland for people running lights, we can do that for gravel trucks going across a bridge they're not supposed to.
The bottom line is that people.
That's not hard.
The commercial people have a tendency to, every once in a while, run a full load. You know what I mean? A full load. It's just the way it is. The order is gonna take it, and, you know, if you say the limit to the bridge is 6 ton, it's 6 ton, you know. Doesn't take long for a gravel truck to add up to 6 ton real quick, you know.
But then you do that with a pickup truck.
Well, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I mean, and that was the point I brought up with Winchell. I says, you know, to me, the damage that's done by the bridge is related to the length of the wheelbase of the vehicle and the load that it has on it. Because, you know, that bridge can take an awful load here, but it won't take that load there. It'll take it on the center of the arch, but once it's on the curves, when it doesn't get a chance to displace that energy, and so it's really a longer bed that actually spans, you know. But either way, there should be a fixed limit on it, you know. And how do you enforce it? I don't know. I suppose it's technology that could sense it, you know. You put a sensor in the road bed that would feel the way of the truck going over and take a picture of the license plate. It would be nasty to do, but, you know, there's got to be technology out there to do it.
so it's only be interesting to see how long that camera lasted.
Not long.
You're right. Yeah.
You know, somebody, I know if I wanted to go, you know, take a big truck across it, I knew there was a camera there, yeah, well, I'd just go up and hang a hat over it, or a paper bag or something over the camera.
Yeah.
And just like, oh. So, you know, like I said, enforcing it is a problem.
Yeah.
Well, unless you guys did something real interesting.
No, I don't think, you know, I don't think we do have a lot of real interesting.
I just have to look up, and I said, oh my God, this is the third Thursday, yes. I'm straight to be, I think I'll run up and see what's going on, what's hot. It looks like there's another hot.
Well, there hasn't been, you know.
It was more exciting when Hannah was here last time. She makes it exciting.
I brought something for her, you know. I said, I don't think she's probably gonna see.
No, but you two guys are too dry, you know?
We try.
No, it's like, maybe I'll let anybody.
Well, Hannah was hot about the Lincoln School because it means a lot to her. And so we were feeding each other. And the cemetery stuff, she does it, so she has a right to be hot about it. And, you know, everybody bitches, and yet she's absolutely right. Nobody shows up when the time comes to put the flags up. But they'll sit there.
Well, what do you mean nobody?
What, they've said they'd be there, and she tells them when, and nobody shows up.
It's in the paper. She puts it in the paper when she's going to put it out. She asks for
You
people.
need more than that, you know?
Actually, I think she's probably gone and called people that said they wanted to do, and they said, well, I can't do it now.
She never called me.
I mean, it's only a 2-day event. It's 2 complete days. You know, it's not a deadly thing. Well, that's in 1938 4-H summer.
That's a true.
in Trigger. There's probably not many copies of that.
Those extra stoves in the Lincoln School, who those belong to, Hannah?
Stoves, I don't know if
There's a couple extra stoves, gas stoves.
I don't know where they came from. I can't answer that. Yeah. They obviously don't belong to the school,
They look out at like that.
and they wouldn't go if we ever started fixing it up. So I didn't hear that from Christie. So I don't know what happened. I could bump her, but I could ask, you know. But I don't know how she made out. Maybe she's still waiting on the next meeting, you know. So for next meeting, do you want to take a look at possible uses for the rec piece?
Sure.
What the heck, I mean, and say, sure, but, you know, take a hard look at it and say, well, what's there for a trail? You know, I'd have to go back and look at some notes, but
So what are we gonna do with the school? Just let it sit there?
okay.
What do we do? Just let the school sit there and fall down?
Well, the town keeps putting money into keeping it up. I don't know if it's leaking now, you know, it needs a little patch on that back side, turn. And
Oh, where the scroll.
The paint's bad. They would tell us it's not up to us to put a warrant article together for some more funds, for some more repairs. Not particularly if they want to get, you know, if they want to get a historical committee to do, then that's up to them, I guess. You know, but I told Christie whatever, you know, however I could help her, I would, you know. She says, well, I've got to get it through my committee first.
So what was the purpose of trying to put it on the historical register?
The town asked for that.
Yeah, but
What was the purpose?
It's the last one in town that's not private.
yeah, but it's like, it doesn't provide any benefit.
No, agree. That's why I said during the last meeting, find that we ought to put our heads together and say, what kind of benefits would the town use this for? There has to be a public benefit if you're going to spend public dollars. And even if it's just sat there, even, you know, the Spinney Meeting House on 109, with, you know, Whitfield fixed that up. Do they use it? I think they have one event there a year of some sort. The old church. It's lovely in there for a period place of worship, to get a sense of what worship was like in a Baptist church in the 1850s. I think that was built in mid-1820s, 1830, and it's got the slanting floor. It's got a lot of interior features that are intriguing. I'm not saying we have to use it, not to value it as a historic structure. I can't get into what Olive's mindset was in terms of why should we value it, other than, well, me and my cousins went to school. and I mean, you know, that isn't the tact. I don't have any of that paperwork on me. The pitch I made to to whoever read the proposal was that it served a very important part in our town history, as all one-room schools do, and maybe that more than most of them, because it was a high school too. It had something more than just grades. A lot of the leading citizens in the town did go to school there, you know, over the course of time. It's pretty much in the condition that it was. Acton doesn't have a lot of resources. Historically, the building doesn't have an awful lot going for it, but, you know, see why you couldn't, if you could get a carrier that would allow the public in there, you know, I don't know what Acton's insurance carriers mixed about, but I know that historic properties, insurances are often written by other people, and I don't know why the select people wouldn't look at that, you know, wouldn't look at, you know, if one insurance company gives you so much trouble, you go to another. Do you not? So, you know, why wouldn't the town do the same thing, you know? You know, why, that, to me, that building doesn't necessarily fit every other public building that the town owns. I don't have any problem with the town having one carrier for this building and that building and the school, that's fine, I mean, you know, they're the select people, not me. But if they manage to get that on the historic registry, and that's what the will of the people is, then it might very well behoove people to explore, or the select people to explore another insurance carrier for that building. You know, somebody that specializes in buildings that are only used so often. And whether it'd be more expensive, or at least less expensive, I don't know. But yes, it would be nice to have insurance on it. And yes, it would be nice to have a liability insurance on it when if you have people using it.
Why did they, when I was up there a couple of weeks ago with Christie, I noticed, you know, the light seems out of place to have a big fluorescent lights in there, you know?
Probably is. I don't know when they took there is the obvious, I don't recall. There's old pigtail wiring that comes down with lights, but there is fluorescent lights there too. Or is it just fluorescent lights that's in there?
Where, I mean, I haven't stopped, where does the light come from?
They're ceiling lights. So you know, it's just the old wiring that's in there. I don't know, you know, who put the fluorescent fixtures in, or at some point, who knows?
It just looks like out of place.
I'm sure it is.
And you look at an old historical school and, you know,
Well, it's not, it's
and
not.
you see these big blocks of
you gotta-
everything from the
I
ceiling.
mean, they didn't shut it until what?
No, it's
50-something?
not, it was a useful public building. It's only historical because somebody's called it historical. If I had kept my old pickup another year, it would have been an antique. It wasn't worthy of road.
But all of always did all their 4-H.
Yeah, but I found some old lights in anyway, you know, regular, you know.
Yeah, somebody
you know,
probably
some
had
just right from the ceiling, you know.
They probably had lights in their barn and they didn't have old lights.
No, agreed, but you know, why those are there has got nothing to do with what the building might get used. You know, the real question is how is the public going to derive benefit of it? And what's the minimus the town needs to do to get the maximum public use out of it? And obviously, the Historical Society or anybody else that's interested in having a meeting there would be all for the good, you know. It just, you know, the more people that drums up uses for it would be all the better. But I don't know, you know, that was some of the things that you know, whoever started that, finished that ball, you know. I mean, the Historical Society owned, did they own that building? They rented it? They owned it. Okay.
Town of Shabbat gave it to them.
The town of Shapley, okay. Now, what I started to think was if the town of Shapley still if they still own that,
No,
then the Historical Society would be in.
They turned the deed over to the.
Yeah, so that, my point is because it's held in private, even though it's a corporation for a group, the public doesn't have a right, there's no public liability, the public doesn't have a right. So, I assume the Historical Society has their own insurance carriers on it, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Well, we don't have that same situation, so that's why nothing can get done, because nothing can get down to us to select people that have the vision to say, this is a historic structure, we want a historic structure, and we're gonna have to do what is necessary to make the historic structure work.
Yeah, but see, that's where I'm stuck.
Yeah.
It's like we put up against a stone wall, you know? They don't wanna have nothing to do with it. You know?
They have to vote the will of the people, that if they don't want nothing to do with it as select people, then let them write a warrant that tells the people that they don't want the building. And put it up for a public vote. And if the public says, okay, we want to rescind a previous, and legally, I don't know how you do it. I think you might have to go back and revisit that warrant and say we want to undo this warrant of the town. You know, legally, you might have to go back and take a look at what the original warrant said.
What are you talking about now? For what?
The warrant that put it on, that wanted it to be a historic building,
Oh,
that was a town warrant. You
do
know,
you remember when that was?
I got it. I'm not sure I remember when it was.
Yeah, I told me, I wrote it down
Yeah.
too.
Don't have it on me.
Oh, yeah, if you think of it, email it to me. What, you know what?
But what I'm saying is, and this is where I think a lot of town government gets into trouble, is they don't recognize that the action that you took when you were on the board is still valid. When somebody else comes in and says, I want to disregard that, they
Well,
can't.
you know, I see that every day. The selectmen are up there every year now doing things that, you know, I'd say, you know, doing it the hard way because they don't know how things get changed, you know, 20 years ago. They weren't involved in it. None of the selectmen that are in power now had anything to do with it.
To clarify, it was left as an unresolved issue. They took the vote, they asked the Conservation Committee to do it. When I got on the board, you know, I recall that, and I asked Hannah, and she handed me what Olive had started. Olive never took it beyond the point of taking the paperwork and filling it out. So Lois went and tried to get a copy from Miss Mitchell, and then she handed that to me, and I thought, okay, I'm getting tired of this armful of paper here, so I'll just do it. All right? And, okay, I don't think they need an awful lot more other than cash than I gave them in terms of making the building appropriate. How the town, yeah, there probably ought to be a group of concerned citizens that would get together and say, this is what we think the select people ought to, this is what I think the select, this is what we think the select people ought to do. You know, but somebody's got to take the ball by the hands and do the work, you know. And like I said, I agree with Mr. Rivard. You want to find stuff about the cemeteries, just say, hey, Wesley, do it. Give me the right to do it, I'll do it. Nobody's going to give me that right. So why should I? You know, if somebody says, how would you use the town farm? Okay, I could look at it real hard and say, well, I think we ought to find some public access right on, what's the real access right on that road? And how do people get up there to use it, you know? I mean, what would it take to, and I tried to throw that at North Southland Company. And, you know, they don't want to answer that, you know? They don't want to answer the tough things, they just want to, you know?
I don't know, they're just what I was thinking of.
You know, there's no answer.
So, now you're talking about access. There's access to the town farm.
If you have a four-wheel drive truck.
Yeah.
But
And that's only because, yeah, the road's closed, there's no maintenance on it. Then the foolish road commissioner, they turn around and take care of the water coming down, instead of putting a culvert in, they get around, dug a ditch diagonally across the road and put a berm on the lower end, so now you can, you know.
Yeah, no, I don't know. No. I did have, you know, I told you, I did have a conversation with Mr. Taney. And so he's still interested in Mr. Willett and Stiles.
Is this extra copy?
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, your name's on
See,
it. I got your name in there somewhere. If you don't like something I say, tell me.
Oh, one of the things you commented in here about
I mean, see, that's a draft, so I probably shouldn't, I probably shouldn't let you have it until we, if I was.
Well, if he's got something he doesn't like, we change it.
I know.
Okay, I didn't hear you say
I really shouldn't let him have it, but you know what I'm saying?
about the canal,
Yeah.
the next to the last paragraph, which is, for the understanding that Acton's official liaison with this group were to be the town road agents, road committee.
Road committee, yeah.
Of the,
No, I'll keep that until the town approves it, until the committee approves it. I mean, that's the way it is, but,
because the road agent is generally synonymous with the road commissioner. It isn't just the road commissioner, it's the road committee.
but that meeting specifically said that it would be the road agent that was gonna deal with whatever had to be done with that, the road agent would be doing it. They bypassed the road committee, they bypassed everybody. Mr. Winchell, or whoever, was gonna be the person that would deal with it, because they're the ones that have the expertise concerning that whole
As far as the
stuff.
road goes,
No, they said they were to be the ones that to deal with it. Am I misreading that?
Well, what I know is that it didn't have anything, didn't have anything to do with us anymore, because it was gonna be through the road.
The only person that was gonna speak for Acton, in my mind, the way I heard that, relative to the canal, was gonna be the road agent. That's what they went up and they asked the select people, and the selectmen came back.
Oh, okay.
and
The select people says, no, that it's up to the road agent. And they
That's right.
somebody went up and asked for clarity with the select people. And they threw the ball back at the road agent.
I'll get clarification.
So that's what left me, that was my interpretation on that. But, yeah, I could be wrong, but that's what I heard. That's why I,
See, one of the problems is that the selectmen, the past year or so, okay, almost past 2 years, been very kind of adamant about they want the road committee to have any power or any, ability to do anything. They couldn't even call a meeting. So they turned around and all of a sudden went to MMA, and MMA legal came back and said, no. They, they're an advisory, the road committee can't turn around and just do things on their own. But they can call meetings, and all of a sudden, the road commissioner is a part of the committee, all of a sudden we discuss the thing, if the road commissioners turn around and say, yeah, we'd like to have the committee do so-and-so. Like
there's been actions taken by people exterior to the town that thought that they could talk to a committee member, and the towns had to bite the bullet because the committee member misspoke. There's been a couple of times in my memory of how that's hurt, because.
Yeah, but they say the previous road committee, they went overboard and, did things that they shouldn't. But as I say, the new road committee, and that's why I wanted us to turn around and try to make sure that, hey, we do things in the best interest of the town, and we're an advisory.
Now, if you want
Turn
to-
around and do the research, and
If
turn
you-
around and turn it over to the select.
If
Just
you-
like, we look, I did complete research for 3 different roads for a turnaround for the report, this is okay, the next action is up to the selectmen. They can go out and get the easements, you know? They can turn around and take whatever legal action is necessary. You know, road committee can't do it. So I'm writing a memo now to turn it, dump it in the selectmen's.
Well, you know, to get back to Lincoln School, I don't see why the current selectmen can override without the vote of the people what the past selectmen and the vote of the people approved of. And the approval was the way that warrant was written was to have the conservation committee to see what it would take to put this on the registry.
Okay.
And that's what we get.
But that's in process.
That's in process.
Well,
So-
actually, it's on the state. It's on the state
It's on the state.
registry, it's just not on the national.
Right.
We were able to do that.
But I do think a case has to be made as to why the people wanted it, and why would the people want it now? I think that case needs to be made as to how would you use it. I think the same thing applies to the 24 acres you mentioned earlier. You know, who's using it and for what purpose, you know. I mean, town forests are what they are, you know, they've always been, historically, they've been used as a buffer for the towns, for a project, for a purpose, or whatever, you know. They were originally granted so that, just like school lots were granted, you know, they were for the town to be able to take the benefit of what the woodlots were. Does the town need to make money by harvesting a woodlot? Or can the woodlot serve a better purpose by doing something like the Mary Grant does? Or does it serve a better purpose not to touch it at all? And that was the point I made at the meeting. I says, you know, all this stuff you're talking about, you know, even Mount Agamenticus, I got surprised at you saying that, well, we've got to justify that all that land being set aside at Mount Agamenticus, so we've got to get in there and find some way to creatively cut it. Well, do you? Does it?
Well, they did find a way to do that. There's a kind of tree on there that only, turkey or something, only occurs, it's the only place in Maine that it is. So they can cut it to preserve the turkey.
Okay.
At least that was sometime I heard something about that. But I don't know. Not to
Make a motion to adjourn?
He's gonna make a motion. Oh, I'll make a motion. We adjourn.
Sure, yeah.